Carl Inderfirth is a former Assistant Secretary of State during the Clinton administration. He's an expert on the Middle East, and he says the terrorism by ISIS isn't because of the faith.
The Muslim faith does not lend itself toward extremism or toward violence.
He says it's a small faction of radicals that distort the faith for their own gain.
Around the world, there was a noticeable rise in the radical and terrorist side of the Islamic faith. Anybody who doubts that is simply not seeing the globe as it really is and could be called somewhat naive. As for who is driving the spread of what is basically a cult, there are many opinions. And our next guest is about to stir the hornet's nest. He is a former FBI agent who has been called by some critics an anti-Muslim conspiracy theorist. Others would call him a Muslim basher. And those who would call him one of the few who speaks the unfettered truth also admire what he says. John Guandolo joins us today on MidPoint. John, thanks so much for being here.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
John, there is a discussion here that apparently you are discussing the fact that Christianity or Christians are at the fault of the spread of Islam. Are you quoted correctly on that?
No. Obviously, the Islamic global is a cult. Recent article highlighted is that out of either naivete or a willingness or just gross ignorance, there are Christian leaders, especially in America and then some in Europe, who are working with organizations that are easily identifiable as Hamas, Muslim Brotherhood organizations.
Such as who?
Well, the Islamic Society of North America, the Islamic Circle in North America, and the Council of Islamic Relations are the primary three organizations that control the interfaith dialogue with the Muslim community in the United States and North America in general, including in Canada, with regards to all three of those. And so you've got a number, if you just look at whether it's Protestant, Catholic, evangelical organizations, and including Jewish organizations, by the way, these are the organizations that they're working with either locally or statewide or internationally.
Well, wait a minute now. Let me see if I understand you correctly here. Are you saying that groups such as CAIR, the Council on American Islamic Relations, and others are helping to push Islamic extremism?
No, they're not helping. They're a core part. The federal courts...
But you're saying then that they are the core part of it. So you're saying that groups like CAIR are actually on a daily basis, or at least in your opinion, pushing the extremism, the radical extremism, correct?
Yeah, it's not my opinion. I mean, there's evidence over the last 20-some years that demonstrates that CAIR was actually created by the U.S. Muslim Brotherhood Palestine Committee, which is Hamas in the U.S. CAIR is a Hamas organization, and Hamas is a designated terrorist organization. So, of course, they are supporting the jihad both here in the United States and internationally.
Well, but John, hang on a sec, because we've had people from CAIR on this show before, and they claim that, and they have shown here specifically that they are the ones who are trying to put down Islamic extremism, and they are the ones who are trying as best as they can to prove to America that not all Muslims are extremists and not all Muslims want to kill Americans.
Well, I've never said all Muslims are.
No, I correct. You didn't say that, but that's what they're trying to. That's what they're trying to push forward because they claim that's how people are painting them.
Well, right, but when you talk to CAIR, you're talking to Hamas. So of course.
No, I don't necessarily. Wait a minute. What is your connection and what is your proof that it's Hamas?
If you're not aware of that, there is a mountain of evidence that CAIR is Hamas, and I would be glad to take a few minutes and walk through that with you.
Well, if you could do me a favor, because we've had people on again from CAIR and other organizations who completely deny that they are connected to Hamas. So I'm just curious what your proof is. Give us about a minute if you can.
Well, let's just start with some of the basic information. The largest Hamas trial ever successfully prosecuted in American history is the United States versus Holy Land Foundation trial, adjudicated in Dallas in 2008. If we just go to that trial alone, the evidence in that trial, I'll just hit a few of the highlights so we can even begin this discussion. CAIR is listed as a member by the U.S. government, as a member of the U.S. Palestine Committee, which is Hamas, the United States. So that alone nails it. But I'd like to go much, much further.
And we've got about 3 minutes here. Go ahead.
In the Sabri Ben Khallah case, Sabri Ben Khallah was an Al-Qaeda guy that was arrested and tried in the Eastern District of Virginia, in Alexandria, Virginia. When that when that case went to the appellate court in Eastern District of Virginia, the government proffered this. I'm going to read you a
Okay,
quote.
well, we don't have time for all the reading here, John, unfortunately. We only have a couple of minutes
but you're
here.
asking for evidence.
I'm
So here's
asking
what
for
the
evidence, but we're
government
not
said.
asking for 20 minutes of evidence here. Do you have 30 seconds? Can you break it down?
I'm trying to do that.
Go.
Moreover, from its founding by the Muslim Brotherhood leaders, CAIR conspired with other affiliates of the Muslim Brotherhood to support terrorists. The U.S. government proffered this in the federal trial, and I just read this to you. The U.S. Muslim Brotherhood created the U.S. Palestine Committee, which documents reflect was initially comprised of 3 organizations. One of those organizations was founded by the founders of CAIR, which is a Hamas organization.
Okay,
And
now
it
that's
says
about 30
CAIR
seconds, John. I'm afraid I don't have any more time for this, but I just want to point out, CAIR apparently is a coalition of, they're involved in a coalition of 75 groups urging the Obama administration to take immediate action to end the anti-Muslim training materials. So wouldn't you say that they're doing what they can to see if they can push some peace forward?
But I guess you're missing the fact that CAIR is a Hamas organization.
Well, because you say that and because there are charges of it. That's all I'm pointing out.
Not because I say that. Because of the court said that, the federal judge said that, and it went to the appellate court, and the appellate court looked at the evidence. The evidence is the founders of CAIR, all 3 of them, have been identified as members of Hamas in the United States.
So with about a minute left then, are you then saying that these are the people who are driving the Islamic radicalism here in America? These are the people who are driving the Islamophobia?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay.
And that's what the evidence shows. CAIR is a Hamas organization.
What about those
It was founded
people?
by the U.S. Palestine Committee, which is Hamas in the United States.
John, what about those?
There's not, by the way.
John,
there's not
excuse
a
me,
reason-
what about those people? I've only got 30 seconds left. What about those people who claim that you are the one who calling a CIA director as a secret Muslim agent, and they say that you indeed are also making up stories? How do you answer
because
them?
I would just say this. I've put this on the table a number of times for over 10 years. If anyone can prove anything I teach and present to law enforcement, to senior leaders, and by the way, just yesterday, the former U.S. Attorney General of the United States, former CIA directors, former DIA directors agree with me because the evidence is what I'm saying it is.
Okay, John,
So if you can
unfortunately, we are
demonstrate
all
I'm
out of
wrong,
time. We're going to have to cut it there, but you do have a lot of points here. We're going to bring in the CAIR people, and we're going to have them answer back to this as well. Let's see if we can get them all together here, and we'll find out exactly what the truth is. John, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, in the wake of a measles outbreak across America, what should we do about parents exposing their kids to the disease and doctors who won't vaccinate even when asked?